Amos chapters 3 and 4, YAH'S MO, that is YAH'S method of operation. For within these couple of chapters, we get a glimpse into the method of operation that Yah utilizes when he's upset with his children. And seeing that we're his children, and, you know, we at times may cause him to become upset, you know, we can learn his method of operation from scripture so that we know when he's acting in our lives and he's upset with us, so we don't go along dumbfounded and not know what to do. So that being said, let us consider Amos chapter 3 verses 1 and 2. It says, "Hear this word that Yahuwah hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Mitzrayim, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore will I punish you for all your iniquities." Now this is important to understand, that Israel is the only nation that Yah deals with on the planet. You know, this is the only nation that he's covenanted with, and that he's truly known and allowed to know him. That said, we ought to be grateful that he's chosen us to know him. You know, in Romans 3 verses 1 and 2 we read, "What advantage have the Yahudim, or what profit is there of circumcision?" In other words, what advantage is it of being an Israelite? Romans 3:2, "Much every way, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of Elohim." Now this word oracles is logion, with the root word logos, which speaks to the words of Elohim. Now, this is what makes it profitable to be an Israelite, what made it profitable to be one of the Yahudim, because they were given the words of Elohim. They were entrusted the words of Elohim, and now today we have the words of Elohim. You know, so it's to our advantage in every way that we have the words of Elohim. And we know ultimately the words of Elohim is embodied within our Messiah and Redeemer, Yahushua HaMashiach. We read in Yochanan 1 through 5, "In the beginning was the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. The same was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Well, the light of the word is still shining in the darkness, and the darkness is still failing to comprehend it." You know, we need to acknowledge the word of Elohim and make it and put it at the forefront of our hearts and minds, and let it truly be a light unto our paths and a lamp unto our feet. For it will be and do just that if we would just simply allow it to. You know, it will confound the darkness. It will cause the darkness to flee. You know, if we would just only consider the profit that we have in having the word of Elohim. You know, many people, you know, have it, but not many people actually utilize it in their lives. You know, in many houses it's just a decoration, or just, you know, a coffee cup holder in some cases. You know, but, you know, this is really the advantage that we have over the world. The word of Elohim. In Yochanan 14:6 we read the word that is Yahushua saith unto him, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me." And in that, we just seen in Yochanan 1:1 that Yahushua was the word. We would expect the word to have these same characteristics. And in Yochanan 17:17 we read, "Sanctify them through thy truth, thy word is truth." So hereby we learn that we're sanctified through the word of Elohim, you know, and that the word of Elohim is truth. even as Yahushua was the embodiment of the word of Elohim, he was the truth, the way, and the life. In Psalms 119, verses 104 and 105, it says, through these precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. So we see here the word being pictured as the way in which we are to walk. And if we allow it to truly be a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path, it will still be the way now today. It will lead and guide you into righteousness, even into everlasting life. And Yochanan 6:63, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. So we see that even within the word, even as was entailed within Yahushua, is the way, the truth, and the life. Now, that being considered, and seeing that Yah has given us his word, and that he's made us the people that have the advantage over the world, we also should consider Luke 12:48, which reads, but he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. You know, this is a principle, you know, entailed in Scripture, and truly, to whomsoever much is given, much of him shall be required. You know, and seeing that Yah has given us his word, you know, therefore he requires of it at our hands. You know, he requires of it at the works of our hands and the walks of our legs and feet. You know, he didn't give it to us to bury in the earth. He gave it to us that we might become profitable unto him and to his kingdom. Yes. You know, and this is what we're to do. We're to consider that, hey, we're advantaged. We have the advantage over the world. For we have the word of Elohim. And therefore we ought to show that we have it by walking therein. Amos chapter 3, verse 3 says, can two walk together except they be agreed? Now, this is one of those very famous verses that is oftentimes, you know, misinterpreted. These three words, they be agreed, comes from the Hebrew word ya'ad, number 3259, meaning to fix, to appoint, to set, to meet, betrothed even. It's a verb meaning to appoint, to summon, to engage, to agree, to assemble. It also means an allotted or appointed time to meet an appointment. We read in 2 Samuel 20, verse 5, so Amasa went to assemble the men of Yahudah, but he tarried longer than the set time which he had appointed him. So in other words, they had they had an appointment. They had a set time in which they were going to meet. You know, this the word set time there is actually 4150, which is moed in the Hebrew, appointed time. You know, and we see here he had appointed, you know, is ya'ad, you know, meaning a meeting time, an appointment. We see also in Psalms 48:4, for lo, the kings were assembled, they passed by together. In other words, they met together. They were assembled. They were ya'ad. You know, they came together to meet, and then they passed by together. Yah is asking a question here in Amos 3:3. How can two walk together unless they appoint a time at which to meet? You know, it's kind of hard to walk with somebody if you don't know where they're going to be. You know, what Yah is alluding to here by telling this to Israel is that he'd been trying to meet with them, but they wouldn't come to the meeting place at the appointed time, i.e. his Moedim. You know, They want to come when they get ready. They don't want to come at the prearranged time. You know, and this was the thing with Israel, because Jeroboam had changed the times and the place. You know, so, you know, Yah is saying, hey, you know, I want to meet with you guys, you know, so we can sit down and talk about this, you know, so I can put some things, you know, let you know where I'm at, you know, with what you're doing. You know, but here it is, you know, they're not showing up. They're not showing up at the meeting place at the meeting time. You know, they're going someplace else. You know, we see that nowadays, you know, a lot of people, you know, they're meeting at different times in different places. You know, but the crux of the matter is, when did Yah say to meet? What is his appointed time? When is he going to be there? You know, when did he say to meet, and where did he say to meet? You know, and that's what we need to speak to, see, and get to, rather, and his word speaks to that. His word tells us where he's going to be and when he's going to be there. You know, so we see here he's asking, can two walk together except they be agreed? He's asking, how can two walk together unless they appoint a time in which to meet? Y'all need to come on to the meeting so I can bring y'all up to speed. You know, but unfortunately, the hierarchy that was over the northern tribes of Israel, because they were afraid they were going to lose rule of the people, in which Yah set them over to begin with, had people meeting at different times in different places than what Yah ordained. You know, so you can see the problem here. Now, as we shall see, this is evidenced by the subsequent passages addressed to Israel. You know, you can just look at the context in which the other things that he's saying that actually speaks to that as well. He goes on in verses 4 and 5 and say, will a lion roar in the forest when he have no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have taken nothing? You know, a lion doesn't roar in the forest or cry out of his den when he has nothing, you know, because that will prevent him from catching anything. If he's trying to hunt and trying to get some food, and if he lets the lions roar out, then everybody know he's there and everybody's going to go running. So that's not going to help him at all. But rather, they stay really, really quiet and stealthful. And when the opportunity is right, they pounce on their victims. And then afterwards, they let out their mighty roar. You know, so this is how the lion does it. He goes on in verse 5 and says, can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth where no gin is for him? Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? What is it talking about, gin? You know, they talking about getting their drink on, or what? What is going on here? You know, gin is more question in Hebrew. It's number 4170, and it's actually speaking to a noose. You know, what he's talking about is a trap here. You know, he says, can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth, speaking of a trap, a snare, when there is no gin, there is no noose. The way that they used to make the traps was, you know, they have a noose and something in the noose to attract the bird, and then when the bird gets within the noose and triggers the trap, then a net will come up and capture it. You know, but, you know, what sense does it make setting it up without the noose? You're not going to catch anything. You know, so then he goes on to say, shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? If you set a trap and you put it out there to catch something, are you going to just take it up and take it with you without catching anything? You're not going to keep expecting to catch something and then, you know, keep taking the trap up, you know, because nothing's on it. You're going to wait until something get on it, and then you're going to take the trap. You know, you take the trap when the trap is full, right? That's why you go out and check the traps. See if something be on it, so you can get the trap and the goodies. You know, he goes on in verses 6 and 7 and says, shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? You know, they used to have, in the cities, they used to have people on the watchtowers, and they used to keep watch all the time, 24/7. And in keeping watch, you know, one of the watchmen were to spot something, spot trouble, they would sound the alarm. They would blow the trumpet. And the people knew well what that trumpet meant. That trumpet got to blowing, you best believe, folks start scrambling and start trying to prepare for battle. But here he says, shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? You know, in other words, he's saying, you know, I've been blowing the trumpet and nobody moving. You know, I've been roaring in the lion. I've been roaring in the forest trying to let you know that, hey, you know, trouble's here, but you haven't been paying no attention. And I done set traps, you know, and here it is, you don't even have sense enough to realize when you're trapped. He goes on in verse 7 and says, surely the Adonai Yahuwah will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. This word, nothing, I found to be interesting because it wasn't, you know, what I thought it was. It was actually low, number 3808, which means not, and debar, number 1697. There's actually two words there. And essentially, debar means a word, so it's actually saying not a word. So he says, surely Adonai Yahuwah will do not a word, but he revealeth his secret. And this word secret is so day, number 5475, meaning a session, i.e. a company of persons in close deliberation, a symbol, a council from your side, number 3245, meaning to sit down together. So in other words, he's saying, you know, I won't do a word until he revealeth that word to his servants, until he sit his servants down and let them know, hey, look, this is about to take place. And we see evidence of that even in Revelation concerning the end times. You know, where before the enemy is let loose upon the people, and he tells them, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute till we go down and we mark the servants of Elohim. You know, he's going to let them know. We'll know. We won't be in the dark. Paul alludes to something similar in Thessalonians, and he lets them know, you know, we won't be in darkness. You know, we're the children of the light. We won't be in darkness. Yeah, he's going to let us know. His servants will know. He's going to let us know, and we can take comfort in that. That's a good thing. You know, he won't do a word without letting us know. Got my first reader read Amos 3, 8 through 11.
The lion has roared. Who will not fear? The Adonai Yahuwah hath spoken. Who can but prophesy? Published is the palaces at Ashdod, and in the palaces in the land of Egypt, and say, assemble yourselves upon the mountains of Samaria, and behold, the great tumults in the midst thereof, and the oppressed in the midst thereof. For they know not to do right, saith Yahuwah, who store up violence and robbery in their pride. Therefore thus saith the Adonai Yahuwah, an adversary there shall be even round about the land, and he shall bring down thy strength from thee, and thy palaces shall be spoiled.
Okay, so we see here in verse 8, it says, the lion hath roared. Who will not fear? You know, and he lets you know who that lion is. Right after that, he says, the Adonai Yahuwah have spoken. Who can but prophesy? He said it. He let us know it's coming to pass. I can't do nothing but tell it. I can't stop it. I can just tell you what's going to happen. You know, you need to get on your knees and you need to cry out and you need to intercede and do whatever it is that you need to do. You know, I can't do nothing but tell you what he said. And he's telling them, publish it in the palaces at Ashdod. Ashdod literally means like a mighty ravager. You know, so this was, you know, this in symbolism, this is something that's just tearing stuff up. And then the palaces in the land of Mitzrayim, you know, the double straits or oppression, you know, just speaks of oppression. And say, assemble yourselves upon the mountains of Samaria. Samaria was the capital of Israel, the northern tribes of Israel. And he's telling them, assemble yourselves on the mountains. You know, Yah is, you know, he's sicking Ashdod in Egypt on Israel. He's saying, behold, he's telling them, assemble yourselves on the mountains of Samaria, on the nations of Samaria, and behold the great tumults in the midst thereof, and the oppressed in the midst thereof. In other words, what he's saying is, he's going to cause Egypt and Ashdod to come and look upon Israel, that they might see the weakened state that they are in due to the confusion and the uprisings going on within Samaria's government. You know, Samaria, the capital of Israel, and it's speaking of, and behold the great tumults in the midst thereof. That's speaking to confusion and uprisings. You know, they have confusion and uprisings within the very government structure. So, you know, if you're going to attack, this is the perfect time to attack. Kind of reminds you of the U.S. right now, you know, with the Congress and the president, you know, constantly feuding. You know, there's a turmoil in the midst of the leadership. You know, they can't agree on anything. You know, they're going back and forth. You know, this is the time, you know, in which, you know, other countries, you know, usually attack. Not that I'm looking for that or want that, you know. But this is what Yah is telling them. He's telling, you know, their adversaries, you know, hey, come and assemble yourselves. Look, they, you know, they're in a state of confusion. You know, if there's ever a time, hey, this is the time. It is also implied that the reason for all the confusion is due to violence and robbery that is emitted from Samaria, that's emitted from the very government. You know, that's where all the confusion is coming from, because of the violence and the robbery that's going on. You know, and it's likewise in the governments of now today. You know, there's a lot of violence and robbery. They're doing violently to the people, and a lot of robbery going on. You know, in the form of interest rates. You know, they just done got smoother with it. It's not, you know, it's a little, they done got a little slicker, a little smarter, you know. So, you know, when they want to rob you today, all they do is raise interest rates. You know, cause the cost of living to rise without the cost of labor to rise. Cost of labor stay the same or go down, but the cost of living goes up. What do you think they're doing? They're robbing you. That's how they rob the people today. And, you know, and they keep the people dumbed down so they can't realize that they're being robbed. They can't figure it out. Well, it seems like I used to have more money. I'm working the same job. I'm living in the same place. You know, I'm doing all the same stuff, but it's like, you know, I used to be able to save, but now it's like I can't even, you know, I'm having trouble just making ends meet. Can't figure it out. Because the cost of living done went up. You know, you're buying the same thing for more money, but yet you're making the same pay. Gas done went from $2 to $4. Yeah, I think that'll make a difference. My next read Amos chapter 3, verses 12 through 15. I don't think it's so. It's on?
Real low.
Thus saith Yahuwah, as the shepherd taketh
out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs, or a piece an ear, so shall the children of Israel be taken out that dwell in Samaria, in the corner of a bed, and in Damascus, in a couch. Hear ye, and testify in the house of Jacob, saith the Adonai Yahuwah, the Elohim of hosts, that in the day that I shall visit the transgressions of Israel upon him, I will also visit the altars of Bethel, and the horns of the altar shall be cut off and fall to the ground. And I shall smite the winter house with the summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall have an end, saith Yahuwah.
Okay, God is upset. He's officially upset. He says, thus saith Yahuwah, as the shepherd taketh out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs or a piece of an ear. You know, so shall the children of Israel be taken out that dwell in Samaria, in the corner of a bed, and in Damascus in a couch. You know, usually if you paint this picture that he's painting, you know, those up in the corner of the bed are usually shivering in fear. You know, and essentially he's speaking of the ones that fear him. Now here, we see that as the shepherd taketh out of the mouth of the lion, we know who the shepherd is. Amen. The shepherd taketh out of the mouth of the lion, and we know that Yah utilizes the serpent or Satan as a lion who goes to seeking about who he might devour. But here it is, the shepherd is taken out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs or a piece of an ear. In other words, he's taking out those who are walking in obedience. He's taking those out of the lion's mouth. Yah is always well able to deliver his. He's delivering the ones that's walking right. He's delivering the ones that's walking with 2 legs. They're walking correctly. He's delivering the ones that's trying to shema, that's trying to hear and obey his word. You know, he'll deliver them out of the mouth of the lion. And so shall he take the children of Israel that be taken out that dwell in the Samaria, in the corner of a bed, or in Damascus in a couch. He's taking out the ones that fear him. He goes on in verse 13, hear ye and testify in the house of Yaakov. So saith Adonai Yahuwah, Elohim Zavaot. You know, when he started using that Zavaot, you know, Elohim Zavaot, you know, the El of hosts, you know, it speaks of, you know, the military side. You know, it's something about to go on. Something about to go down. There's some discipline being handed out, or some conquering getting ready to get going. And here it is, you know, he says, I will also visit the altars of Bethel. He's going to their so-called house of God. And he's going to deal with them there. And he says, and the horns of the altar shall be cut off and fall to the ground. Speaking of the priesthood, you know, those who's in control and has the power over those things, the house of God and the altar. You know, he's saying that he will cause them to even fall to the ground. You know, in other words, he's going to destroy the whole hierarchy of Israel, all those that are in power. Hence, he goes in verse 15. He goes on and saying, he will smite the winter house with the summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish. All the great houses. These are all the houses of the aristocracy of the community that actually ruled and reigned over the people. He's saying he's going to destroy them because they're not right. And, you know, any place that professed to be his, you know, he'll do likewise, because he's no respecter of persons. And we're going to go on to Amos chapter 4. Check out chapter 4. Verses 1 and 2. Well, verse 1 reads first, hear this word, ye kind of Bashan. You know, he done got on the men, now he's getting on the women. You know, kind speaks to cows. You know, these were the leading women of the community. hear this word, ye kind of Bashan that are in the mountains of Samaria, which oppress the poor, which crush the needy, which say to their masters or their husbands, bring and let us drink. Here, Yah, it appears to be addressing the influential women of Israel. We see this term, bulls of Bashan, used elsewhere in Scripture and speaking to the hierarchy of Israel. But here it's using the kind of the females of Bashan, speaking to the influential women, you know, that are in the nation, you know, and the part that they play, you know, because they are to be a helpmeet unto their husbands in the sense that, you know, they're to be that voice of reason. You know, when they see them going out the way, they're supposed to, hey, you know, don't the word say this? You know, don't you supposed to be following what God says? You know, and the women have a great influence over the men, you know, in their lives and vice versa. You know, and that's why, you know, the two shall become one, and they're to work together and stay on that path. We see in verse 2, chapter 4, it says, the Adonai Yahuwah have sworn by his holiness that, lo, the day shall come upon you, and he will take you away. And then it says with hooks, but there's an olive tav that's hiding in there, and I thought that was awesome, you know, because it says he will take you away with olive tav hooks, or with Yahushua's hooks, and your posterity with fish hooks. You know, it is not Yah's will that it is his will. It's not his will that any should perish. It is his will that all should come unto life. You know, and this is actually his plan here. See, and sometimes discipline looks like a bad thing, but it's working for a good. You know, and this is what he's doing here. You know, he's doing something that's going to seem, you know, horrendous to the people that it's happening to, but he's doing it for the overall purpose of good. You know, and he's saying that he's going to take you away with Yahushua's hooks, and your posterity with fish hooks. Now, when we look at these 7 words, that he will take you away, those 6 words, they're all from Nasa, the Hebrew word 5375, and the strong meaning to lift, to bear up, to take. You know, in other words, he's saying, I'm going to lift you up with Yahushua's hooks. And then, you know, what I picture here is like, you know, when he used to, you know, they used to put hooks in the animals' noses, you know, and they used to lead the animals around. You know, and this is what I look at here. You know, they'll cause the pull on the rope with the hook in the nose and cause the head to come up and go whichever way they wanted them to go, no matter how stubborn or obstinate the animal may have been. You know, so actually the first part of what he's saying here is he's going to put hooks in them, which is a reference to that. You know, we see in Isaiah 37:29 saying, because thy rage against me and thy tumult has come up into my ears, therefore I will put a hook in thy nose and a bridle in thy lips, and I will turn thee back the way by which thou camest. See, and that's what Yah wants to do. He wants to, you know, he's not doing it just for harm. He wants to do it that he might turn us back to his ways. You know, this is kind of what it looked like, you know, when they used to put the hook in the animal nose, you know, and we know how stubborn donkeys can be, you know, but even the most stubborn of donkeys, with a hook in his nose, he gonna move when you say move. You know, he's gonna stop when you say stop. He gonna adhere to your commands, you know, very closely. Amos 4:2, the latter end, it says, in your posterity with fish hooks. This word fish hooks is seer. Number 55:18, meaning to boil up a pot. And it's actually two words here as well. It's seer, number 5518, and it's also dugai, number 1729. Both of these are translated as fish hooks here, but it's actually two words. And it's actually a word picture that's being formed. You have a boiling pot, and you have a fish hook. You know, so you have, it's speaking of your posterity. He's going to take your posterities up with fish hooks. In other words, he's going to, you know, fish them up out of the places where they are, and he's going to drop them into a boiling pot. You know, and this speaks to the then future work of Yah, where he would actually fish their prosperity out and put them in that boiling pot. That boiling pot being a symbol of Christianity. You know, this prophecy found its fulfillment with Yahshua. We see in Matthew 4:19, he says, and he saith unto them, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. So he actually did fish their posterity out with fish hooks. You know, and found this little skit, you know, where they're actually fishing for men. My man said, I don't think that's what what fishers of men mean. He quite mean take your fishing pole and go and snatch people and force them to do stuff. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people took it that way, and they done all kinds of evils and under the guise of quote unquote fishing for men. Now, also, as far as that boiling pot, let us consider that Matthew 3:11 said, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that cometh after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with Holy Ghost and with fire. And we know that the water of the word, the baptism speaks to the water of the word. And when you put fire under water, you very easily get a boiling pot full of water, in which people are thrown into and stirred in. That's voila, Christianity. You know, true Christianity. You know, all that will live godly shall suffer persecution. Got to go through some fire, some hot water. You know. We have next we read Amos 4:3-5.
And ye shall go out at the breaches, every cow at which is before her, and ye shall cast them into the palace, saith Yahuwah. Come to Bethel and transgress, at Gilgal multiply transgression, and bring your sacrifices every morning and your tithes after 3 years, and offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving with leaven, and proclaim and publish the free offerings, for this liketh you, O ye children of Israel, saith Adonai.
Okay, so here it is. He's speaking of them, you know, going out at their breaches, you know, at the splits, every cow at that which is before her, and ye cast them into the palace. Said Yahweh, that really didn't make too much sense to me. And you know, and I looked at each word and it still didn't make sense. So, but that being said, it speaks of them going every morning and offering their tithes. In other words, they're going through the motions, you know, but they're not doing the stuff correctly. You know, we see in verse 5 it says they offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving with leaven, and proclaim and publish the free offerings. But this is what they liked, the children of Israel liked. You know, to offer any offering with leaven was against Torah. We read in Leviticus 2:11, no meat offering which ye shall bring unto Yahuwah shall be made with leaven, for ye shall burn no leaven nor any honey in any offering of Yahuwah made by fire. So by proclaiming and publishing the free offerings, they caused all that partook to become unclean. And hence the whole nation became unclean after a while. Yah comments that such is what the children of Israel liked, which speaks to why many things today, which also goes against Yah's word, are done, because you know it's what the people like. It's not about what Yah likes. It's about what the people like. We have to get back to doing what Yah likes and never mind what the people like. You know, because what the people like is always going to be at odds with what Yah like, because they're speaking from a place of flesh, which is at enmity with the spirit. You know, that carnal nature is at enmity with the spirit. So it's always going to be diverse. It's always going to be against Yah. You know, so we need to start concentrating on what Yah likes and what he's appointed in his word, and walk therein. Next read of verses 6 through 9.
And I will also give you cleanness of teeth in all your cities, and one of bread in all your places. Yet have ye not returned unto me, said Yahuwah. And also I have withholden the rain from you, when there were yet 3 months to the harvest. And I caused it to rain upon one city, and caused it not to rain upon another city. One piece was rained upon, and the piece whereupon it rained not withered. So 2 or 3 cities wandered into one city to drink water, but they were not satisfied. Yet have ye not returned unto me, said Yahuwah. I have smitten you with blasting and mildew, when your gardens and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees increased. The palmer worm devoured them, yet have ye not returned unto me, said Yahuwah.
Okay, so here it is, and we just reflect on what's been transpiring. We see that Yah actually, you know, he sent his prophets to give a word against Israel. You know, he had been sending his prophets, telling them, you know, where they were off. You know, they wouldn't correct themselves, so then he started coming up against them. You know, coming up against the leadership and prophesying against the leadership. And still, they wouldn't succumb to his word. You know, so now we see here in verse 6 through 9, he's speaking of them. He said, I also given you cleanness of teeth in all your cities. I like that little statement, because it shows, you know, the Hebrew thought. You know, the thought behind the words and how they conceptualize things. You know, cleanness of teeth is just another way of saying you're going to starve. I'm going to cause you to be real hungry. You're not going to get them teeth dirty on nothing, you know, because you're not going to get nothing on them. You know, you're going to be washing a lot of water past them, you know. So, you know, that I like that. You know, he says, and want of bread in all your places, ye have not yet ye have not returned to me. He calls, you know, and it's important to look. He goes to the food, you know, after he attacks the leadership and causes the tumults and the uprisings within the leadership, and then it kind of filters down. He causes the nations, surrounding nations, to start noticing the weaknesses. You know, and at the same time, you know, here it is, he's coming about, he's calling famine in the land. You know, now, you know, you got folks that's hungry. And, you know, we're supposed to be able to take a look at that and realize, okay, Yah is upset, you know, and return to him. But he says, yet have ye not returned to me, even after I've sent famine. You know, even after, you know, you go for want of bread. And he goes on to say, and I have withholden the rain from you. So, you know, he sends drought. He sends drought to affect the harvest, to affect the food. See, and we see that happening even now today, but, you know, yet how many are trying to return to Yah? How many are saying, you know, Yah is doing this? You know, Yah is doing this. We need to repent and turn back to him. He says, so 2 or 3 cities wandered into one city because he only sent rain in one city, you know, and didn't send it in the surrounding cities. So what you have is all those cities running to the one that have the little water, but it's not enough to satisfy them. You know, and what that really reminds me of a real life situation that's going on right now today within this country, over in the Southwest. You know, particularly dealing with Las Vegas, but affects Las Vegas, California, and Arizona. They all get their water from Lake Mead, which has been dwindling, you know, drastically over the past years. And you know, they're estimating that within the next 5 years there won't be any more water in Lake Mead. You know, so they're just gonna have a dam there for nothing because there won't be no water, you know, for them to utilize. You know, but yet have they not returned to Yahuwah? You know, see, we're to learn from this. You know, and see, this is how Yah's work. This is his method of operation. This is how he deals with his people. You know, but he does it. He's not doing it just to be harmful. He's doing it so that we may return unto him. You know, he's doing it. He's talking. He's speaking. He's communicating. You know, but we're not listening. And just as Israel, yet ye have not returned unto me, saith Yahweh. And then he goes in verse 9, he said, I have smitten you with the blasting and the mildew when your gardens and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees increased. The palmer worm devoured them. Yet have ye not returned to me, saith Yahweh. You know, and that's, you know, he's poisoning the food supply. You know, and ultimately that speaks to Yah's people. You know, it speaks to his prophets and his servants. You know, the vineyard speaks of those of us in Yahshua. The fig tree speaks of the Yahudim, you know, and the olive trees speaks of Israel. You know, so you have the priesthood, you have Israel, and you have the Yahudim. But, you know, as soon as they do come and give fruit, the palmer worm devours them. You can't see how the evil comes up against everything that's supposed to be righteous. That's another sign. When the righteous are persecuted, that's another sign, you know, that Yah is trying to get your attention. Yet have ye not returned unto me, saith Yahuwah. You know, and that's what's going on even now today, even within this very day and time. You know, righteousness is frowned upon. It's looked at as a joke or something that's, you know, out of fashion, old, done away with. And those who advocate it are persecuted. The same thing is happening right before our eyes. And Yah is still saying the same thing. Yet have ye not returned unto me. You know, so here it is. Not only is he spiritually, physically speaking, destroying the physical food, he also is causing the spiritual food to be diminished, to be poisoned. And we know ultimately that even in Yahudim, they became blind, you know, so, and that they weren't able to see, you know, they were the ones that were supposed to be feeding the people. You know, so this is done, you know, because they won't return to Yah, won't return to his ways. You know, and that's real important because, you know, he changes not. He's doing the same things right now. You know, and we need to recognize that. You know, and praise be to Yah that, you know, he does have a few of us out here who do have a heart for him and are trying to return to him and blow the trumpet and be the Amoses of our day. In verses 10 through 13, we read, I have sent among you pestilence after the manner of Mitzrayim or Egypt. Your young men have I slain with the sword and have taken away your horses, and I have made the stink of your camps to come up to your nostrils. yet ye have not returned unto me, saith Yahuwah. You know, man, can we see that nowadays, how he sent pestilence amongst the land. You know, in the manner of Mitzrayim and otherwise. Man, are the young men being slain with the sword, especially here. You know, murder capital of the world or nation or what have you. You know, I mean, come on. I mean, you can just see this. You can just see the parallel even in today's time. But yet, the people are still not returning unto him. You know, he goes on in verse 11, says, I have overthrown some of you as Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and ye were as firebrand plucked out of the burning. Yet have ye not returned unto me, saith Yahuwah. You know, he said, I came and brought major devastation upon you and saved some of you just so, you know, you have a heart to turn back. But you haven't. You know, and that makes me think of, you know, incidents like, what was New Orleans, when the flood went over there. I mean, that major devastation, you know, and yet they repair the city and go right back to doing the same thing. Yet have ye not returned unto me, saith Yahuwah. You know, the tsunami that hit over in what was that, Asia?
Japan.
Not the Japan one, the other one. But both of them, in all actuality, you know, they still went right back to doing the same thing, life as usual, doing the same old thing that they had been doing. You know, we're gonna do it on a grander scale this time. You know, y'all knock it down, we're going to rebuild it. We can make it better than before, stronger, faster. And y'all's like, oh my goodness, are you serious? What do I have to do?
World Trade Center.
Yeah, the World Trade Center. You know, here it is, we can rebuild it. They're building it, rebuilding it. Really. You know, it's incredible. You know, Yah is doing the same thing. His method of operation has not changed. You know, and unfortunately, his hearts has not changed. They're still not returning to him. Verse 12, therefore thus will I do unto thee, O Israel, and because I will do this unto thee, prepare to meet thy Elohim, O Israel. You know. And unfortunately, you know, those of us now today that's in the same boat, we're going to have to prepare to meet him too, you know. But, you know, here I believe he was talking about Yahshua coming, you know, and nowadays still talking about Yahshua coming, but when he come this time, it's not going to be nothing nice. It's not going to be like the first time. He goes on in verse 13, for lo, he that formeth the mountains and createth the wind and declareth unto man what is his thought, that maketh the morning darkness and treadeth upon the high places of the earth. Yahuwah, the Elohim of hosts, is his name. You know, and ultimately this spoke to Yahushua coming to the earth, you know, and really he set the things in motion for fulfilled much scripture, but set in motion for everything that wasn't fulfilled to take place. And we know that he knew the thoughts of man, even as is declared here in Amos 4:13. In Matthew 9:4, we read, and Yahushua, knowing their thoughts, said, wherefore think ye evil in your hearts? And in chapter 12, verse 25 of Matthew, and Yahushua knew their thoughts, and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every house or every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And of course, there's many other examples in Scripture where Yah actually knew their thoughts and read their thoughts, just showing that he is the Most High El. He was the embodiment of the Word and is the embodiment of the Word. You know, and we need to adhere to that Word. Recognize Yah's method of operation and how he's been working here and even in our land. You know, because we see much of the food here is poisoned, which lends to sickness and disease, running rampant, which it is. You know, and if we still don't adhere, he says he started overthrowing some things, like even as he overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. We see that happening with the New Orleans incident and 9/11, and you know what happened with the World Trade Center and other catastrophes, earthquakes and tornadoes and floods that's just been running rampant.
Fires.
And fires, and don't forget the fires that's just been burning up thousands of acres. I mean, thousands. It's just incredible. You know, not to mention, you know, millions of fish just been washing ashore, just dead, millions upon millions. You got thousands of birds just being found dead, like they just fell out the sky, like they all got together, had a meeting and said, okay, we're going to die right here now. You know, and just like they just fell out the sky. It's just incredible, the stuff that's going on a worldwide scale that they're not talking about. You know, giant sinkholes just popping up all over the globe.
Earthquakes.
All over the globe, just these giant sinkholes. I mean, that's just like, you know, no one knows the depth of them. You can't even measure how deep they go. You know, incredible. I mean, the things that are happening, you know, meteors hitting the earth, you know, I mean, hello. You know, what else does he have to do to get our attention? And then he made it so that we're knowledgeable that these things are happening. You know, it's not like back in the times that we're reading about where something could happen on the other end of the world and no one would ever know. He's making it known and we have it so that we can know exactly what's going on. Not just here, but on a worldwide scale, and it's happening everywhere. And it's unprecedented. It's not like it's the norm. You know, and that's the thing that you know, you have to really pay attention to. You know, all these things that he's speaking of was outside of the norm. You know, this is where we are now today. So, you know, praise be to Yah for the handful that are trying to return to Yah. But, you know, I just encourage everyone to take note of Yah's method of operation and see how it's at work in your lives. Because he is Yahuwah and he changeth not. Same yesterday, today, and forever. And that's all I have for you today. Pray it was a blessing unto you.